I'm also the chief mentor here and have helped, people get through top MBA schools and masters and PhD programs across the world. Um, Prior to Crackverbal, I've also have industry experience. So I've also worked for companies such as HP, where focused more on tech. With me today, I have Gaurav. Gaurav, if you remember, this was the same time last year that we started working together. And I'm so
Absolutely.
happy that now I'm able to kind of have you on this webinar. And thank you so much for doing this for us and for everyone who's listening to us today. Uh, just give a little bit of background about yourself, Gaurav, and then I will ask you a lot more questions over the course of this webinar.
Sure, sure. Once again, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be of help and to be of use to prospective MBA candidates. And I know it's a major decision. It involves a big cost and a shift in mindset from, being an employee or, being a student and again being a student after a gap. So, yeah. So basically, I'm Gaurav and currently a year two student in NUS. I'm specializing in finance and strategy. And prior to NUS, I was in investment banking at KPMG, wherein I worked with infrastructure clients both in India and globally on mandates such as project finance, buy side advisory, sell side advisory. And I have also done many internships in strategy consulting with EY and PwC. Uh, Reason for choosing NUS was, proximity to India, best in Asia, great for finance, and I also want to pivot into private equity, in which NUS has a specialty. So yeah, here I am, living the dream, as I can say. It's been a hectic but a rewarding journey so far, and looking forward to answering all the questions that might arise.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much, Gaurav, once again. And what we will also do as part of this session is, in the end, if you have any specific questions, we'll take those questions too. And we will make sure that this 1 hour that you're spending with us is fruitful, and it helps you in some way in terms of your own decision making of what you want to do next. With that, let me just launch a small poll, and I would like you to kind of give me some understanding of what stage you are at right now. Okay. One second. Sorry, not this. Just give me 1 second. I'll just, yeah. So what stage are you at right now? If you could just uh, attempt this poll, all of you can see this poll. Please attempt this poll. What stage are you right now? Applying this cycle. Okay. Applying this cycle as in for 2027 intake, because 20 you're applying this year, 2026 you're applying. Okay, preparing for GMAT and GRE. Okay, all right. So I think quite all of you, please, whoever's attending, please attempt this poll. It will give me an understanding of what stage you are. Okay, so most of you have already decided that MBA is important, which also means that this will definitely be a session that will really, really help you at least get some of the confusion out of your mind, right? So, all right. So thank you so much. Thank you, Aarti. Thank you, Shashank. Thank you, Aliza. Thank you, Rakesh. Thank you, Vivek. Right. All right. So let's get to the second aspect of it. Uh, Now, what I want to do is, like I said, I want to focus on 5 parameters that which will help you evaluate why you should do an MBA, right? And what with my discussion with Gaurav and my experience over the years of what are the most confusing aspects that most people want to understand is what will be the difference in India versus an international MBA. Why should I choose an international MBA? It cannot be just international exposure, right? What is the major difference between an international MBA? And what we are going to do is we are going to touch up each of these aspects. One, the curriculum part of it. Two, the career market access part of it. The transformation, the personal transformation that you might go through. The cohort and the network quality. How do you kind of look at that? And obviously, finally, the risk versus return. Everyone who talks to me, the first thing they always talk about is, Shri, what is the ROI of doing an MBA at this point? Because everybody will be at a different stage. Some people at a stage where you are just 2-3 years experience. some people who have finished 5 years experience, there might be other who have more than 10, 12 years experience also, and still looking at, okay, how do I kind of look at doing something else, considering the kind of volatility that businesses are having at this point in time. So how will an MBA really help you get to that next step is something that will be something that might be there in most people's mind. And what we are going to look at is, we are going to look at each of these points one by one. And I would ask Gaurav what are his thoughts on how he evaluated his MBA, because to give you an idea, Gaurav, when he started his process and when he was going through this MBA application process, he actually looked at Indian schools as well as foreign schools as his option. So, Gaurav, maybe you can give a little bit of background on what was your thought process before I pick each and every point over here and we can discuss on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So there were two things going on in my mind, everyone, when I was in the exact shoes as you all are right now, exactly a year ago. So basically, it was a childhood dream for me. So this is the personal aspect. It was a childhood dream for me to, like, cross borders of India and get my master's from abroad. So this was the more intrinsic factor driving me. Second, of course, was the fact that since I had spent 3+ years in investment banking and I wanted to grow my career in finance. So I basically picked top geographies for finance, such as basically the finance hubs of the world. You have London, you have Singapore, you have New York, and of course my home geography, India. And I picked up top schools. And as Sri ma'am might explain in the coming slides, there was a holistic process involved of school selection. I was very adamant that I want to apply to Wharton, right? But then Sri ma'am told me that it's good that you want to apply to Wharton, but you need to understand that does Wharton need you right now at your stage, in your point of life? And turned out it did not, and that is okay. There was no need of being disheartened or anything like that. School selection is one of the most important parts of the entire MBA process, because if you're not targeting your schools properly, if you're not choosing the right schools to apply to, then basically it's not gonna work, right? It's a proper marriage between an applicant and a school. So I chose the top schools, and of course, with Sri Ma'am's guidance, I was able to narrow down the schools list to 5 good schools across the world for finance and consulting. And yeah, so this was basically the two factors: my career journey so far, and a childhood dream of getting my MBA from abroad. So I chose Indian schools like ISB, and of course schools like NUS, London Business School, Yale, and Stern. So, and yeah, I got admits from ISB and NUS. So yeah, that was pretty much it.
Perfect. So now that you're finished the first year in NUS, Gaurav, and this is something that a lot of people, it's very hazy in terms of their own understanding of what actually they are getting into, right? So if you could just tell us a little bit about how does this curriculum and learning format work? Because uh, if you look at online, if you search online, there is a lot of electives and core electives that people talk about. At the same time, they also talk about experiential learning. So in fact, all of you, when you actually research on the school, you will hear things like capstone project and ELP and exchange career tracks and stuff like that. So can you walk us through how this whole curriculum works? What is the thought process behind how it is structured that way between year one and year two? And how does your day look like? And what you thought, and what is it that you actually went through when you went through this process? Touch
Yeah,
upon the curriculum part to begin with. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So I think the curriculum part is the part where Indian schools really lack when it comes to the quality that they provide. So basically, it was a cultural shock for me, because growing up in India, studying in CBSE for almost 16, 17 years of my life, and then studying in Delhi University, which is again typical rote-based learning system. So it was a cultural shock to me, because in NUS, how the subjects are structured are, of course, the first year, that is semester one, is mostly core subjects which everyone has to study. Because in MBA, you need to appreciate the fact that not everyone is from a business background. I have doctors in my class, I have astrophysicists in my class, I have people from, geopolitics and economics background, I have bankers, I have scientists, and I even have marketers and social media entrepreneurs. So everyone needs to have an equal footing before they start. So the first year or first semester, if I would say, is primarily core subjects which everyone has to study, and that is pretty much like in India. You study, you give exams, you pass, and then you move ahead. The second year, which is like semester 2 and 3, is basically the one which really distinguishes a foreign MBA. So currently I'm in my semester 2 and I do not have any exams. I'm only studying subjects which I want to, and there is no defined curriculum. You can only choose the specialization you want to have, such as I have chosen finance and strategy. And NUS has 4 capstone pillars. I'll break down each one of them in brief so that everyone can have an understanding. First is short term exchanges for 2 weeks. You can pretty much go to any top university in the world, such as Harvard, Yale, Princeton, London Business School, for short exchanges of 2 weeks, where you can complete up to 3 subjects there, learn from their faculty, and get a mark on your CV that, hey, I studied in Harvard for 2 weeks. Then you have full semester exchanges. Like I will be going to London Business School this August for fall exchange from August to December. And I will be completing an entire semester there, completing my credits, and then coming back to NUS. So I can get flavor of both the schools. Then we also have cultural immersions of 1 week. Last year, I went in November, I went to Dubai, interacted with NUS alums in Dubai, went on company visits in Dubai, met also the Sheikh of Dubai, and how, he's inculcating values of MBA in Dubai since it's a growing city. A lot of my classmates now are in Japan, Taiwan, Vietnam, and Germany for their 1 week long cultural immersions. And that is all student led. So, it encourages a diaspora of camaraderie, and a lot of cultural immersion activities are there. So its second year is mostly exchanges, global network weeks, and cultural immersion, so that you can always appreciate that MBA is not just about textbook learning. This is one factor that Indian colleges miss. I know that IIMs also have exchanges, but that is only once. But in NUS, you can do up to 5 exchanges in a year, which is like crazy. So, yeah.
Right. So how does these exchanges work? Like, are these something that is an option that everybody gets, or is it something that you have to bid? How does this work? Especially, because there are so many students. So what is the cohort size at NUS right now?
Yeah, so full-time students, ma'am, are 95, and we have 40 part-timers. So you can say approximately 140 students in MBA. And coming to your second question, that, how this entire process works. So NUS has a very strict policy that, everyone has to enroll in any one experiential learning program, because without that, it will just be, simple textbook learning, which is against the principles of, NUS. So of course, there is a bidding system involved. We have a lot of student clubs and other initiatives. So the number of events you participate in, the number of contribution points you have, your GPA, your CV, that decides your rank in the order. So like I bid for London Business School, Stanford, and Yale, and I got London Business School because it was my first priority, since I need to break into IB. Again, a lot of my students got their second or third priority because they were low in the pecking order. So it follows a competitive bidding system, but NUS ensures that every student either goes for a short exchange or a long exchange or week-long cultural immersions. So no one is really missing out on anything.
Right. So I have one more question here, because you came with clarity on what you really want to do next. Whereas quite a few people who actually are looking at pursuing an MBA are also in an exploration stage, right? One part of it is obviously you pitch based on what strength you have to what you want to get to during your MBA application process. But the other part of it is it also gives you an option to explore a lot of things, right? Like, for example, for all the career treks or all the projects that you have done, they might not be very focused on the investment banking aspect of it,
Correct.
or the
Yeah.
what you want to get to next. So how is that planned, or how do you kind of look at choosing those options when you are in your first semester or the second semester?
Yeah, I feel so NUS also has a dedicated mentor which will, assist you in your entire career mapping journey throughout your course. And so basically, they are industry veterans or currently people serving in the industry, which NUS has partnered with. So basically, you can design your entire curriculum with them and in discussion with the program office. So as I said, it's not very rigid. Some people also don't have any courses in this semester. They are only doing a full-time internship. And there are some people who are not going on exchanges, such as me. This semester, I'm doing my courses, wrapping them up so that I can go for a full semester exchange in fall, August. So, and to your second question, that a lot of us, like even me, like I have somewhat of clarity that I need to break into finance, but I'm also currently in an exploration phase because my internship is in strategy consulting, which is fairly a new field for me. Like I have internships, but that too in India. This geography is new, the work environment is new, the type of projects that Singapore has is new. So basically, you have to experiment, right? The school gives you complete autonomy to experiment. Even if you want to pursue a subject which is not in your specialization tree, you can. They will not like debar you from studying this subject, which a lot of my friends in Indian MBAs face this issue. So one of my friends is in IIM Ahmedabad, and he wants to do a finance specialization, but they are not letting him do some courses from marketing because they are not in a specialization tree. So these sort of issues won't come typically in an foreign MBA.
Right, right. So yeah, I think that is one aspect of, and a very good point that you mentioned, which is what is the kind of exposure that you have to the fields that you have not really worked on before, and that can be a great advantage when you're looking at an international MBA, and that could be something that you would want to even research on. So when you are looking at picking a school, or when you are looking at figuring out, okay, what are the kind of options I have, or what are the kind of schools I want to look at, this could be one aspect that you should look at, and not just look at only the ranking aspect of it, right? Ranking is very, very superficial. This is what the in-depth subject aspect of it, the learning aspect of it could be something that you would really want to focus on. The other aspect of it, Gaurav, I want to ask you is the learning style, right? That is so different than what we have been used to in India.
Absolutely.
Was it difficult for you? How did you kind of manage it? How does that work?
Yeah.
Especially when you really can't, you are at a different maturity level when you're doing an MBA, right? It's not school or college. So how does that work for you, and how do you kind of manage those aspects too?
Yeah, so to be honest with everyone, my first 1 month was hell because I was used to like memorizing concepts and vomiting them in the exam. But yeah, it was different. We had case studies, we had guest lecturers, we had industry immersions and stuff like that going on. And the biggest advice that I got from my senior in NUS was you have to cut the noise because there is so much happening around you. You cannot like participate in everything. So as you have mentioned in the slide, peer and faculty relationship building is a very big part in the first semester because everyone is new. Some are new to Singapore for the first time, some are new to the Asian continent for the first time. So NUS has a lot of exercises and playbooks and initiatives designed to help people mingle with each other. So at that point, I was like, every day I'm missing on 2 or 3 events. Should I study or should I, go on drinks with my mentor or should I like, mingle with people? But then eventually, we are humans, right? We learn from our surroundings. So I got used to it. But still, I'm learning every day because generally in Singapore and in NUS in general, people don't have a lot of focus on exams, right? Even my faculty tells me that marks are just marks. Don't run after them. So even if you fail, which I'm not recommending people that you fail, but there have been instances that even if you fail an exam, but if your overall projects, your cases, and your rapport with the mentor is good, NUS generally promotes you ahead. So this was a really big difference that I felt from my Indian pedagogy growing up and a foreign MBA. That is, academics is not everything. I'm still in the mindset that I have to top, but things don't work like that, sadly.
Right, right. The next part I want to touch upon is the market access. And I think this is a very important aspect that you would want to kind of look at. So based on, so if for people who are, here, if you can type on the chat window, what industry are you from? Are you from tech? Are you from finance? What industry are you from? Can you please post on the chat window? Uh, what industry are you from? Yes, okay. Eliza is from tech. Others, can you put on the chat window? Okay, finance. Shreya's a finance, education. Great. So cool. So I think I'm just waiting for others also to type in healthcare, manufacturing. Interesting. Right. So yeah, so I think that is one aspect of it, right? Now, when you look at what you want to do next, one thing that you would also want to look at is how is the market in that country, in that region, for the kind of roles you're looking at. And this is a very important part of it, because you might want to look at the class profile and see, okay, how many, if you're looking at consulting as an option, how many people, what is the percentage of people who are getting into consulting? For example, if you look at NUS, it's a big finance hub. Everybody knows that. It is a big maritime logistic head. People in supply chain operations, they have quite good opportunities over there. UK, if you look at, again, finance hub, there are some schools which specialize in consulting. LBS, if you look at it, it's very big on the finance aspect of it. If you're looking at European schools, HEC kind of schools, they're big in retail and luxury. If you're looking at US, obviously there is tech, there is investment banking, there's an entire PE ecosystem over there. But at the same time, you also have to understand that, okay, based on what's happening in the current scenario and the economy, how are things going up and down? If you look at Singapore, tech right now, not only Singapore, but everywhere in the world, tech is quite impacted in terms of the hiring is happening over there. Because with the AI coming in, there are a lot of companies who are rethinking how, or restructuring, or reimagining their own work and their own workflows and their own systems right now, which is also the reason why a lot of this hiring is getting impacted. If you're looking at US, for example, you want to understand the H1B process. If you're looking at Europe, for example, you want to understand the visa and the timelines. And UK, how does that change when you need a employer to sponsor you, or for the visa, right? So how has that impacted, Gaurav, more from your perspective? How more from a placement perspective, for people who graduated last year, maybe who are in the recruitment stage this year, how good or bad it is? Be absolutely honest and candid about it, because this session is to focus on being absolutely honest, and so that everybody over here gets a very good view of how it works. So yeah, if you could just throw some light on that part.
Yeah, so since the geographies mentioned are Singapore or ASEAN, UK, Europe, and US, Canada, definitely Singapore is in a much better situation than UK and Canada and US. If the situation is like this bad in Singapore, so it's this bad in US and Europe. It's like the gap is pretty big. Uh, Thankfully, I have friends and mentors in each of these continents, so I can provide a fairly transparent picture to all of the attendees here. uh, the tech sector has been pretty badly hit in Singapore. I'm not sugarcoating stuff. Uh, uh, and so, first thing that I would need to clarify is there is no such thing as placements. This is a very big understanding gap that we Indians generally have. This concept of spoon feeding, and companies coming on campus and you go wearing a fancy suit and you have a job by the end of the day. This culture you won't find anywhere, be it Singapore, be it Europe, and be it US. Of course, the schools provide you guidance. They review your CV. They attach you with mentors, and they obviously there are networking events and career drives, but there is no onus on the school to get the students placed. It's on the student himself or herself, right? Now, talking about how bad the environment is in Singapore, and by bad I mean, yeah, it is definitely tough. The government is also trying to make hiring little bit more difficult for foreigners, since there is a lot of influx of talent which Singapore has seen over the past 5 years or so. And of course, every country is trying to look inwards for talent, be it US, be it Europe, be it Singapore. But finance, because Singapore, the finance industry contributes approximately 45% of the GDP, right? So they know that their main attraction is finance and maritime. So those sectors are still pretty much insulated. The government is still trying to attract foreign talent. tech, the situation is pretty bad. If you talk about my seniors cohort, uh, if I'm being honest, I think only one or two people could make it into the tech industry. Lot of them made it into consulting or allied industries like research or back end consulting. A lot of them successfully had roles or jobs in IB, and by investment banking I mean private equity, equity research, and also M&A advisory, which was my core function, right? So if you talk about finance, then Singapore is a really good option. Talking about Europe, of course, if you have a big brand like London Business School or Oxford, definitely the brand helps. But as you all are aware, the entire European continent is currently on a slowdown. Big places like Germany, France, all of them are facing stagflation since the last 2 years. US, I would not like to comment. It's a pretty volatile environment right now. Doesn't matter if you're from Stanford or Harvard, people are still not getting offers. So these are volatile times. The current geopolitical crisis, I don't know how it will pan out, but it certainly has a bearing on the hiring scene. But I can only talk about Singapore and NUS because I'm a part of that ecosystem now. NUS brand has a lot of recall back in India as well. So personally, I'm also open to that opportunity. If I get a decent package in India in purchasing power parity terms, I would happily come back, because in the end, the ROI is a subjective concept. You cannot really quantify the amount of money and career trajectory you will accrue in the future, right? People generally say, oh, I invested 1 crore and now I'm at a package of 50 lakhs, so my ROV will be recovered in 2 years. That's not true. The brand value, the connections, that is not quantifiable. So to stop beating around the bush, Singapore is still relatively safer than UK and US. If I'm talking about finance and maritime, that's your best bet. Consulting is on a slowdown globally. Private equity is also on a slowdown in Singapore because private equity is basically you invest in companies that are not doing that well and you turn them around and you sell them at a profit. So the order book is currently full. They don't know where to invest the money. They're sitting high on cash. So that is an industry problem, not typically Singapore's problem, right? So maritime is definitely, of course, I have had companies coming to NUS and getting people at very good packages, companies like Maersk or Singapore Maritime Corporation. So again, uh, so of course it's getting tough for newbies to join, but if you're good in what you do and if you have a good brand like NUS, that definitely opens doors for you. At least you will have a fighting chance.
Right, right. And the whole idea is also that every business is evolving right now, whether it is tech, consulting, economy is one thing. So I always tell this to people that focus on the controllables. What you
Yeah.
can control for yourself is, your score, your career path, do proper research, network properly. It is not like how it is, how we are set more from our Indian education perspective, that as soon as you finish your engineering there is a placement season and there is day one and day two and there's some. So this happens only in India. The whole placement concept is very Indian. This does not happen in anywhere, any other part of the world, which also means that it also gives you a very good chance to network from the beginning itself. And one thing, like Gaurav also mentioned, that the exposure that you have with the industry people throughout this process is the network that you're building to finally land up the job, right? Whether it is mentors or whether it is working on specific projects with companies. Gaurav already has an internship with the EY already, where he's focusing on the strategy consulting aspect of it. So a lot of these opportunities are there, and it has to be about you to take the advantage of these aspects and look at what you can do next, right? I'll pick the next aspect of it, which is the personal transformation. And I feel this is something that is, people don't think too much about it, but this is a very very important part of it. And Gaurav, I want you to talk about what changed in you. It's maybe just one and a half semesters right now, but
Yeah.
how is Gaurav from the time you joined to what has changed in Gaurav from who you are right now, more from a personal transformation?
I think I cook really well now. Because there, being a single child, I was really pampered. There's no doubt in that. And I was really shy and timid because, typical Indian parents doing everything for their kids and, ensuring that the kid has the best upbringing. But once I like landed in Singapore, I was left to fend for myself alone. Uh, so yeah, the entire accommodation scene, there's no concept of house help. You have to cook on your own, you have to clean, you have to live on your own, you have to manage your finances and everything. So of course that is a softer aspect which people generally don't involve or don't think about, but I think that is a very very important aspect of living abroad or basically living anywhere else that you're used to. Second, my confidence has definitely improved. When I came, I was like a kid because I'm the youngest in my batch, but now I have spoken on industry forums. I have also organized industry treks by myself. So I think those sort of leadership opportunities that foreign schools provide definitely, up your persona by a lot. Of course, there is this global exposure part of it, wherein I have Chinese friends, I have Indonesian friends, Japanese friends, friends from over 25 nationalities in NUS. That is something which I'm proud of. That okay, I worked hard for it, and now I can interact with foreigners. That would not have been impossible in an Indian context. Sure, ISB has foreigners coming, but they are from like 2 or 3 nationalities. So I think learning from foreigners and learning from people from different nationality really opens up your perspective, because the way they approach problems, the way they think about situations is really different. A Japanese guy is a very bureaucratic guy. You just produce paperwork, he'll be really happy, whereas Indians are street smart. So this is something I did not know. Of course, I knew Indians are street smart, but I did not know how Japanese people think or how Europeans think, and that is highlighted in the fact of group projects. So in group projects, of course, there are some projects in which you can make your own groups, but mostly the groups are meant by the instructor, and they ensure a lot of diversity. So that is, of course, a fruitful experience. And of course, working with clients from different nationalities, that is a whole different subject altogether. Like when I was giving my interview for EY Parthenon, they conducted 5 rounds of interviews, asked a lot of case studies from me and everything. So the way they conducted my interview and the way I gave interviews for my job in India was really different. Indians focus on academic knowledge, textbook knowledge, can you handle pressure, can you handle stress, all that. Whereas these guys were totally different. They were like, they gave me a real problem which they were working on, and then they asked me how would I solve it. So I was like, to be honest, in a fix that what to do, but somehow I managed. So I think yeah, your development really is by leaps and bounds, because you are living alone and entirely different culture, entire different geography. But I think peer learning is the part where I feel that I have had the most joy in, learning from people of different nationalities. Their entire perspective of thinking about things is different. So
Right.
yeah.
Right, right. Amazing. I think these are really, really great points. And with jobs being more and more global, this is something that will be extremely important to expose yourself to, so that you can actually work with people from anywhere and anywhere, and also know how to interact with these people more from a business perspective. The next part that I want to talk about is, generally on the you touched base on the Indian versus the international MBA part more from a cohort perspective. So how closely do you work with the cohort, and how does this help when you're looking at a job role which is not in the geography, which is an international geography, or is there any way that there is some kind of overlap over there?
Yeah, I think it's one of a very important question that you asked, ma'am. I think the small cohort size really helps in this, since there are only 130 students, and out of those 95 only are full time, and we only have 2 classes of like 50 students each. So everyone knows everyone. Doesn't matter, like like ISB, for example. No hate against ISB. I really love ISB. I got into ISB as well, but it has almost 900 students, right? So you cannot interact with everyone. Like you can only know their names or their background, but I have almost worked with every one of my classmates on projects. I don't think I have left out anyone, and that's true for everyone. So I think the learning you get from a diverse cohort is different. So there was this project. I had no clue about how to do social media marketing, but in my group I had a person from Meta who was in charge of launching a Meta Ray-Bans for that. So I think that was an opportunity I could not have gotten in India. Secondly, as you have written in the slide, it's a global network that you have. If I want job opportunities in Hong Kong, I can always ask my Hong Kong friends, right? They have their network established already. If some of my foreigner friends want to work in India, so they can always ask me or any other Indian in NUS, can you help? This is my CV. Can you share in your network? So I think that touch point is developed for that particular geography. So I think that really helps the network quality.
Right. Perfect. Perfect. The other part and the most important part which everybody wants to talk about is the risk versus return, right? And I think with anything else in life there are risks. At the same time, you also have to see both sides of the coin, right? You also want to look at it more from a risk perspective. I think, and I tell this to everyone whenever they ask about whether I should do an MBA in India, abroad, whether I should look at top schools, whether I should really look at US as an option currently. And I always tell them that there's only one thing that you have to answer, which is what is your risk appetite? And it is not going to be easy at every step. But at the same time, it's not rocket science either, which also means that the way you plan your entire journey, the more informed you are, the more well researched you are, you will be a lot more comfortable in taking those decisions when you are at that stage, right? And I always tell people, when you get 2 or 3 admits, it's always a good problem to have, right? Which is, now you are confused that, okay, should I take this option or that option? But only thing I would suggest you should answer yourself is, will you regret not taking this step? That is number one. And number two, what I would want you to kind of look at is, what is your alternate path, right? Can you carve out how your career progression is going to be, maybe without this MBA option that you're looking at? What is your career growth in your current company? What is the next level, next to next level going to look like? How much time is it going to take you to get there? What are the skills that you need? What is the delta in terms of what you don't know right now to what you will gain, and how are you going to gain that? All these aspects should be things that you would want to kind of think through, so that you then know that when you are at the stage when you're taking a call that, okay, this is the school I want to apply to, or this is the school I want to get to, you are very clear that, okay, I've thought through all these aspects before I am actually taking that call, right? So I think that becomes a very important part. Yes, it is an expensive option. MBA is expensive. That's also the reason why it is the most, highly paid option too. Yes, there are job market uncertainties. Then again, you have to be confident about yourself and your own skills that you will be able to do what you really want to do. Obviously, not being around family is not a great thing. So that's obviously, like Gaurav also mentioned, right? There is some level of discomfort that you'll have in the beginning, but then again, that's something that you learn. And obviously, there has to, you have to have a strategy around how you're going to, what outcome you're looking at. A lot of people, I want to ask at this point, Gaurav, um, lot of people, and this is for an MBA across the world, okay? There's nothing to do with only NUS or, NCR or anything. You might not get into the role of your choice after an MBA.
Absolutely.
How true is that? And how do MBAs maneuver this? And how long does it take for them to get to the role that they really want to? Do you have any idea about that?
Yeah, so again, my mentor, I bug him a lot. So he gave me two golden words of advice that have stuck with me forever. That is, first, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You can never, I mean, if you're really lucky and if you're really top of the game, you can obviously get the industry, the role, the company you have been aiming for prior to MBA. Okay, so hey, I want to enter into Goldman Sachs, front end, derivatives trading after my NUS MBA. That is a goal which you can set, but you know as a foreigner, since we all will be foreigners in that country, right? Entering the market is more important than getting the company you wish for. Once you are in the market, no one can really stop you from switching jobs, right? But getting that employment permit, getting that visa is the most important challenge. So I was also a lot of like other people that, hey, I want to enter only into bulge bracket investment banks. But then later on I realized that, hey, no, entering the market is important first, and then you can always switch positions, you can always switch roles. Of course, I'm not saying that, if you want to get into finance, go into maritime, that will be completely different, right? But if the industry is at least what you wish for is the same, then I think we should take the bet, and we should just take the jump. We should join the company, work there, get some experience, and then switch again. But as you said, it's really highly likely that what company we have in mind or what role we, there might be deviations from that, and that's absolutely normal.
Right, right, right. And another aspect is more around the network part of it, which is, as and when you grow in your career, it is not about the year. At one point, you will be at a stage where it will no more be about your years of experience. It will be about the people you know. Because when you look at an MBA as an option, you are pretty much looking at roles which contribute to the top line, right? It has to be somewhere you're bringing in business, or it's a revenue generating role, or the people, all those things will become very important. And I think that network is what that actually compounds to the success aspect of it for an MBA. What do you think about it, Gaurav? What is on
Absolutely
what is your
true. I
thought?
mean, I completely resonate with this. MBA is all about networking, networking, networking. This is what I learned pretty early on, and I'm still learning because, see, personally for me, I came from a business background. I did my BMS, Bachelor in Management Studies. So whatever subjects are being taught, I already know that. So I am diverting most of my attention, most of my focus in developing a network there, because that network can only help me. As you know, I mentioned, you also mentioned that placements culture is only in India. Outside that, and even if it's a long game, right, you have to develop a network. That's your insurance. Those are the people who will get you out of trouble if you're like losing your employment permit soon. So, hey man, I need a job ASAP, do you have anything in mind? So you want to develop that sort of a bond with people, not only just knowing their names or their designations, but also like, what can I offer to you, what can you offer to me? So I think MBA is all about networking. I think networking is the biggest intrinsic factor of an MBA.
Yeah, and I think I completely agree with that, and this is true for every school. Whether it is an Indian school or a foreign school. In fact, I am from Bangalore, and there is an Ivy League group in Bangalore.
Correct.
There are multiple. If you just go on LinkedIn and look for chapters of specific schools, you will find enough chapters of specific schools, and they're happy to help,
Yeah.
happy to give you the connect they have, happy to talk to you, happy to guide you in terms of mentorship also. So I think that's something that pretty much is a big leverage when you're looking at an MBA
Yeah,
also.
I got my internship also from an NUS alum. After like, com- like completely like pushing after him that, hey, 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 it eventually happens. So
Right, right. Perfect. So cool. So I'll just kind of close this with a very strong decision-making framework that I would all want all of you to follow. If you have any specific questions, please feel free to unmute and ask. Um, Anyone over here, if you have any specific questions. What you see on the screen are your decision making points right now, of how you need to think of whether an international MBA is something that you would really want to look at, evaluate, and look at what you would want to do next. Any specific questions, please feel free to unmute and evaluate, unmute and ask.
Yeah, hi, am I audible?
Yes, Shashank, please.
Yeah, hi Gaurav, hi ma'am.
Hi.
Actually, I am applying for the NUS in the last round right now, just to give a shot. I am not aware about that I will like get selected or not because it's the top round. So basically, I am writing my story around the venture capital and I am applying to the GRE. So, is there any discrimination in while the hiring from the venture capitalists? about a person with a GMAT score or GRE score? Is there anything like such things?
No, I think schools are pretty on an equal footing when it comes to GMAT or GRE. They don't really discriminate or really differentiate between the two. I applied using both the scores. I have batchmates who only applied using GRE, and I have batchmates who only applied using GMAT. So they want more students from diverse backgrounds. That is why they have the option of accepting both the scores. So correct me if
Right.
I'm wrong, ma'am. I think.
No, absolutely. I think today both GRE and GMAT both are accepted. GMAT is more prevalent because that's used to be the only management tests that people took. But then over the last couple of years, GRE is also something that is accepted and well accepted from most of the schools. So yes, both are equally okay for you to apply. The percentage of people applying with GMAT scores might be higher, but then from a school perspective, both are equally, valuable
Yeah,
effort.
thank you for the information. My question is little different. Like
Okay.
while the hiring, uh, venture capital firms are looking for the specific stage scores.
Oh. So his question is, why in hiring do they look at GMAT or GRE
No,
scores?
no, 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 no. The your importance of scores would end when you receive an admit from any college, Shashank. Hires the hiring committee only focuses on your CV and your work ex, not on your scores.
Right.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, Asha.
Yeah, I
So
think
there's
Shreya
another question.
also. Yeah,
Sorry.
I think Shreya also has a question
Yeah,
relating
yeah, I
to.
was reading her question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading her question. So what are the chances of getting a permit visa for Indians post MBA in NUS, especially in finance?
Oh, this is a pretty interesting question. So basically, Singapore in their EP process has a compass system, and they give you marks for everything. Like if you graduate from NUS, you get 20 points. If you are an Indian, Indians are at a disadvantage because there are already a lot of Indians, so we only get 5 points. There are certain points for age. There are certain points for your prior work ex, and then there are certain points for the industry you are targeting. If you breach the level of 50 points, then you are eligible for getting an employment permit. So basically, eligibility wise, Shreya, you won't face any issues. The real challenge will come when you want to find an employer who is willing to sponsor you. So the chances does not really depend on your nationality. It depends on the employer, and employers generally have quotas for every nationality. Luckily or unluckily, Indians proliferate everywhere. So there are a lot of Indians in Singapore. So it's a tad bit difficult. But again, if you are from NUS, you'll get more points. If you're targeting finance industry, because they need more people, hence you will get more points. And other factors also like your GPA and your prior work ex are also taken into account. So it is not as easy as a local guy, but it's not impossible. So I hope I answered your question.
Right. Yeah, I think you did. Okay, awesome. So, I have one question to ask Gaurav, and maybe it might resonate with most people who are listening to us over here. How was it studying after, working for 3 years? Some people are working for 3 years, some people work for more. How is it? Is it difficult to go back to studying? I know GMAT has done some level of GMAT and JRE would have done some level of training for you, but how easy or difficult it is? You would have seen peers who are coming with a lot more experience. How easy or difficult it is to go back to academics, after working.
I think for those who have 5 or more years, for them it's considerably tough because they have really lost the groove of studying. For me, it was not that tough, primarily because I have already studied most of the subjects in my undergrad. If you don't have a business background and if you're coming after 6 7 years of work, then it's you really have to put in the work. But again, as I mentioned, ma'am, in NUS and in general in foreign universities, exams are of the least priority. It's more on the sort of opportunities you can take advantage of, like networking, or basically getting into internships, getting into life projects and stuff. But yeah, to answer your question, it's tough when you have a big gap in between.
Yeah. So I've also, and listened to this from most of the people who are pursuing that it is also a good reset, right? That suddenly you feel that you are investing in yourself because then you don't have to worry about your boss, or you don't have to worry about your salary or anything, for some time. And you're completely focusing on yourself, focusing on learning, absorbing whatever is there around you. And that makes a huge difference to, reset your entire method towards what you want to do, later.
Absolutely.
Any other question? Yeah, Vivek, please.
Yes, I do have a question. So let me be straight. The whole point of most people in India who want to do MBA is because they would want to make more money. Rest all other things is the narrative just to support that my goal is to do MBA because I love networking, or someone will say that I am into finance and my current job is under consulting. I want to climb up the corporate ladder, so I want to take up MBA. But in deep down, everybody's heart, the main thing is they want to just make money, right?
True, very true. But I will just add one more thing to it, that if you don't like doing what you do and you still get more money, you would hate doing it. Right. So everything goes together. It has to go hand in hand. Money is obviously important. Why would you spend so much money on an MBA if you're not looking at the return of investment? It is important, right? But at the
Mhm.
same time, you are also going towards what you really like to do, right? You don't want to do anything. You might get a 1 crore salary, but you hate doing that every day. You don't want to do it even with 1 crore salary, right? So I think that's how we should look at it, in terms of how you're looking at your growth.
I mean, there will be like couple of people who would want to grind like 3, 4 years, make shit ton of money, come back to their home country, and then at least live a decent life.
Yeah, I mean, that's a more philosophical question out of scope for this webinar.
No, but I just wanted to bring
Yeah,
in
yeah.
that
No,
point
I
as well.
agree. I agree. Everybody wants. I mean, and absolutely, there's nothing wrong in it too, right? And that's exactly why you're. If you are questioning,
Mhm.
um, or if you are trying to change what you're doing right now, if you are,
Mhm.
your alternative was to sit around, say, do nothing. You have a, nice job. You keep going, doing whatever you're doing, and organically grow. That is an option. That nobody's going to push you to do something else otherwise, unless you really want to grow or you really want to experience something, right? So yeah, I yeah, I think it is true. Money is important for everyone, but yeah, it's also other aspects that make it more fruitful, I think.
Yeah, so like I mean, so most when somebody asks like why you want to do MBA, I'll be like, come on, man, just say the truth. Why you want to say that like
Yeah,
a
but your
roundabout answer?
application will not go through if you say the truth.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with the colleges, yeah, but within themselves, like to inner person, they can just be like, yes, I want to make more money and this is my path. So I want to grind hard and get into this college.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for coming on us, Friday evening. Thank you for everyone who's attending on YouTube also. Thank you, Gaurav, so much for giving me your time, and giving your thoughts, and throwing some light on the NUS program too. That was really helpful. And yeah, I hope all the best to all of you. Thank you so much for listening to us, and I hope this was useful. And keep tracking us for all the other webinars. And yeah, have a nice weekend, all of you. Thank you so much, Gaurav.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. And hit me up on LinkedIn if you want any like advice or guidance. And yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for having me again.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Aarti.